Hey everyone, my name's Walter and I'm back here with more stories from Reddit. I've been doing relationships videos and they've almost all been stories from a specific subreddit. So I thought why not just put it in the title this time. So this is stories from Am I the A-hole? So of course these stories come to us from Reddit Am I the Asshole, the place to ask if you are wrong or right in any given situation. Let's just get started. This story is from 6 months ago and generated a lot of discussion. It's one of those ones that makes you cringe. Am I the asshole for reading my coworker's fanfiction in front of everyone at work? I, 27 male, I'm a general manager at a fast food restaurant, not gonna say which because I don't want to get in trouble, with my assistant manager Sophie, 23 female. Me and Sophie get along pretty well. We joke fight about stuff all the time and like to prank each other a lot. Like prank calls or making the other do fake orders or writing fake surveys about the other or splashing soda on the other. We end up working together a lot since we get a bunch of call-outs, especially at night, and Sophie likes to pick up extra hours. We both climbed up in the couple years that we've worked there and have a good relationship. When it's dead, Sophie likes to write fanfiction on her phone, which I sometimes tease her about. A while back, I made Sophie read me a line that she was writing, and we were making jokes about it. Last week, I suddenly remembered the fanfiction again and decided to try and find it. I remembered the line she had read to me and was able to search for it online using quotation marks. I'm not going to say which show it was from because I don't want anyone to find it, but it was shocking to read. Pretty much the two characters in it worked in a fast food chain and ended up falling in love. It got pretty graphic at some parts too. The main character was essentially a representation of Sophie, and the love interest was basically me. I mean, right down to copying conversations that we've had at work. He even had a wife that he was cheating on to be with her. I'm married, but I would never do such a thing. Anyway, a few nights ago, Sophie and the rest of the team threw a party to celebrate a couple of wins, and of course Sophie pranked me by shoving a cupcake in my face. So I remembered what I read. I thought it would be a good prank, so I pulled up the fanfiction on my phone and started to read it. When she realized what I was reading, Sophie's eyes started to tear up, which I was not expecting. The rest of the team was joking around with her, but she ran out of the party. Now she's not showing up to her shifts or answering my calls or texts. It's weird that Sophie's acting like this since she usually loves pranks and stuff, so now I'm wondering if I took it too far. But I also feel like she shouldn't have been writing those things about me and her too. Am I the asshole? God damn, this reminds me of something I covered in the past. My first channel, 5,000 subscribers special, was about a fanfic called Sonic and the Search for Love. This guy's, I think, cousin and his friends found his horrible Sonic fanfiction that was absolutely full of sex scenes that were obviously written by a virgin. So the guy posted it to something awful, where goons started narrating it and posting the audio files. One guy even made a chapter into a song. This was compiled by the OP into a CD that he played while the guy was over to see his reaction. He was mortified, obviously. This was back in 07 or so, the so-called golden age of Christian trolling, so it's not surprising to see something like this happen, but maybe it wasn't actually that funny. Mocking it online is one thing, but to confront him with it in person? Painful to think about. And this is very much in the same vein. I think writing embarrassing fanfiction is actually something a lot of people can relate to. But I can't fully relate to his behavior at work because I've never worked a job like this. You're the asshole. That's not a prank. That's revealing a private side to her that she trusted you enough to share but didn't want others to know. That was a serious violation of trust and an asshole move. Also, her writing honestly might not be about you and she's just combining scenes from work to make her character sound more realistic. But I'm sure you won't have to worry about it anymore because you probably shamed her into quitting writing. She didn't trust him enough to know. She shared a single sentence that she definitely didn't expect him to Google to find the rest. He should have seen the fanfic as a wake-up call about how much inappropriate behavior he was encouraging in the workplace and spoken to her privately about it if he felt the need to clarify some things going forward. Instead, he bullied and humiliated a junior employee and called it a prank. So guess what? There's actually an update, although some people don't seem to think he's telling the truth and see the update as some sort of damage control. Let's check it out. Thank you everyone for reading and giving your honest feedback. It's been a couple of weeks since I first posted that day, and I want to let you know that I read most of your comments and had a hard time accepting that I'm the a-hole. However, after reading and rereading and remembering the situation, I feel that your votes are fair. A lot of you advised that I leave Sophie alone, which I did, but what surprised me is that she actually came into work to her next scheduled shift after that post went up. I was intending on leaving her alone, but she approached me first, so we sat in the back room and had a discussion. I was ready for her to hand in her resignation or talk about taking this to higher-ups, as some of you had said, but instead she apologized to me. She said that she was sorry for writing fanfiction at work and for including personal stories. She admitted that the character was about me after all. After reading all of your comments, I was beginning to think that our time together was just inspiration, but she ended up confessing to me. I told Sophie that she had no reason to be sorry and that I had to be responsible with my actions. I acted inappropriately with her at work and allowed these feelings to develop instead of setting boundaries. I also humiliated her and read her diary in front of the whole class, and I deeply apologized. She actually ended up laughing about it, but I do admit that it felt like she was kind of taking the higher ground and trying not to seem that hurt by it. I asked if she wanted to transfer to a different location, and she said no. She also said she wasn't looking for a new job. I had a separate talk with the rest of the team about what happened, and she joked around with them. Sophie's maturity taught me a lot about myself and things I need to work on, so that's what I've been doing. She and the rest of the team still like to do pranks, but I stay out of it now. As a manager, I've got to be in control and focus on the success of the restaurant. Sophie and I are on good terms again, but we've established clear boundaries, and it seems that she's starting to move on. Thank you all again for helping me to realize that I'm the a-hole. Let me know if you believe this update. I'm not even sure at this point. It is a throwaway account, so I kind of question why anyone would bother writing a fake happy ending. Well, let's read another one. Am I the asshole for moving out and leaving my parents unable to cope financially? Hi, I'm 28, male to female trans. My parents are in their 60s and early 70s. I don't know where to start with this at all, so here goes. I've known I was trans since 14, and I always knew I'd better hide it. So I did. I did what was expected of me and saved money where I could, although till 18 it would end up getting taken away. Going to university, I finally had a little more freedom to be me. I got my BA in computer programming. My dad got diagnosed with cancer around the time of graduation, and I took a job close to home to help out. I ended up inevitably moving in with them and eventually was paying them $1,200 for rent and utilities. Yeah, I was a doormat until about 3 weeks ago when it came to them. My one weakness that helped me keep sanity was makeup. I would practice putting it on after I went to my room for the night. It helped me feel like the real me. Anyway, so 3 weeks ago, while I was at work, Mom was apparently deep cleaning and found my stash of feminine items. She and Dad just started yelling when I got home. The truth about me being trans came out. Then my dad told me, if you aren't my son, you aren't my family. If you aren't my family, get the F out. So I did. I packed my bags after telling them I would call the cops if they didn't let me get my things, and left. I've now moved across country after getting a job here and am settling into a small apartment. Since that day, my sisters have been blowing up my phone telling me to grow a pair and be a man like God intended me to be. That because I'm not contributing, they might lose their house and generally call me an asshole. Am I the ass for leaving my parents unable to cope financially? Oh man, imagine paying $1,200 a month to rent a room at your parents' with the intention of helping them out too. What a fucking deal, right? Then they snoop around in your room anyway and throw a fit about your private items. I don't even have to be trans to realize how annoying this is. You are not the asshole. They basically told you to leave and that they didn't accept you. They obviously didn't think of the consequences of that choice and now they have to live with it. Even if they didn't kick you out, if you would have moved out, it still wouldn't be your problem what happens to them. Who are the parents here? They are, so they ought to learn to be adults and handle their business. Nothing to do with you. Not the asshole. Your parents want to be bigots? They don't get rewarded for that. You need to focus on you, making yourself happy and successful, however that looks for you. Good job on you for starting over. That's an incredibly hard thing to do. Your bigot sisters suck too. Why don't they grow a pair and pay for your parents? Why it gotta be you? Yeah, never give someone an ultimatum if you can't handle the results. It looks like we have a wedding story next. Am I the asshole for kicking my sister-in-law out of my wedding because of what she wore? I, 32 female, married my boyfriend, 33 male, yesterday, and things could have gone as well as they did given what happened. My sister-in-law, 24 female, has always been close with my husband, which is great and all, but sometimes it seems like she's obsessed with him, and a little too close if I'm being honest. She tackles him, sits a little close to him, always grabbing his arm, his waist, things of that nature. So my sister-in-law chose not to be in the wedding party due to scheduling issues, so she was just going to be a guest. I walk down the aisle and everything is wonderful. I get to the altar, and as the priest is saying some shit, I look over towards the side furthest from the aisle, and I see my sister-in-law. Dressed. In a fucking red dress. I was fuming. It took everything for me in that moment to not scream. Of course, sister-in-law wore the color that traditionally meant you fucked the groom. How convenient. While I was angry, I had to finish my vows. I was planning to deal with sister-in-law after the ceremony, but everybody, including her, had rushed out to go to the reception. Husband and I arrive at the reception, and while husband was taking his seat at our table, I told him that I needed to talk to sister-in-law really quick. I found her at her table and told her that we needed to step outside and talk. We got outside, and this is where I went off on her. I asked her what the hell she was thinking wearing a red dress to my wedding, how dumb she thinks to assume that I wouldn't notice, and how dumb she is for thinking that I would be okay with her wearing a I wanna fuck my brother dress. She called me insane for suggesting that I would even insinuate that and told me that no one else seems to have a problem with her dress. I told her that it's not everyone else's wedding. I then told her to leave. Here she starts begging to stay, but of course I wasn't having it, so she finally gives up and leaves. Given the drinks, the music, the party, husband didn't really notice that his sister was gone. However, later in the night, he finally noticed and asked around for his sister. Word got out that she talked to me and he confronted me about it. I told husband that I had to kick her out because of her dress. He was not happy. He called me an idiot for doing that and asked me why I couldn't have at least talked to him first. I just assumed that he felt the same way. Afterwards, we get back to hotel and fall asleep. This morning, I could tell that he is still pretty pissed at me. Word had gotten out about sister-in-law being kicked out, so I had gotten a few texts from cousins calling me an asshole. Honestly, I don't think I'm an asshole for telling my sister-in-law, who was wearing something inappropriate to my wedding, to get out, but let's see. Am I the asshole? Wow, so sure it's her wedding, but it's her husband's too, and I guess she just kicked out one of his most important guests without asking him. What a bitch. I'm sure this foreshadows a healthy marriage. No one has any idea about the stereotype for red dresses on Reddit, and neither do I. I know I went to a wedding where all the bridesmaids were wearing red dresses, but if there is a taboo about wearing red, I think it's probably because it might make you stand out. I'm obviously not an expert on weddings though. Well, this is why it's useful to ask thousands of people in a video. Have you ever heard that wearing a red dress means that you fucked the groom? And would you apply this to your husband's sister? Ugh. Anyway, it's about all the time I have for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you have something to say about the stories, or about me in general, feel free to let me hear it in the comments. I'll be there to read them while it's new. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more of the same. Hopefully the content has been enjoyable. There will be more in the near future here. Now I'm going to shout out my generous patrons by name. They've been helping support me more directly over on Patreon, and it really helps out. Jimmo, Ennui Blue, Levon, Maxo11X, MDB3000, Chris Sturman, Bumbus McDunga, Alberto 2001, Bethy Williams, Big Mike Shirley, Cacti Lady Wither, Cho, Daniel Della Penna, Don Smith, Deborah Douglas, Leanne Summers, Ouroboros, Sammy, Sandyman, V stands for, Wernology, William Ash, Zephyrin, Psychic Kumquat, Alex Anakin, Alan Fang, Cattails, Francois Tremblay, Knit1 Code 2, Lil Spoon, Ms. Mayhem, and Petulant Panda. Thanks again so much for the support. So I will be back once again rather soon. I have promised a few things I haven't done yet. Make sure you let me know if you want more Am I the Asshole videos like this in the future. The content is fairly inexhaustible, really. Well, have a great day, everyone, and make sure you don't tell me about any saucy fanfiction you wrote about us.